All right, so today let's take a deep dive into something I think is pretty interesting, faceless YouTube channels.
Yeah.
We're going to be checking out this article from blogwidow.com. It's called Start a Faceless Channel on YouTube, a guide for aspiring creators.
Okay.
Published February 16th, 2025.
Gotcha.
Now, this isn't just about being camera shy.
Right.
This is a whole new way to think about creating content.
Hmm.
And it's getting more popular all the time.
It really makes you wonder, like, what even is an online personality these days? You know?
Yeah. Does it even matter?
Is it personality anymore, or is it something else?
Totally. So
Yeah.
let's start with, like, what exactly is a faceless YouTube channel?
Right.
Is it literally just a black screen with a voiceover?
Well, not necessarily. It's really more about, like, shifting the focus.
Yeah.
You know, instead of seeing the creator's face, you're looking at other visuals.
Oh.
Could be screen recordings if it's a tutorial.
Okay.
You could have, stock footage.
Right.
If you want to evoke a certain mood or feeling, or even just like really cool animation.
So instead of that classic YouTuber setup, like
Right.
with the bookshelf and the ring light,
Exactly.
you might see like a 3D model of a planet rotating.
Yeah.
If it's a science video or something.
Exactly. Or you might get like a really stylish explainer video that's animated.
Got it. And then audio plays a big part too, right? So it's
Right.
got to be like a really well done voiceover, maybe some good sound effects,
For sure. Music.
the right music.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's how you keep people engaged even when they don't see a person talking.
It's almost like radio evolved.
Totally.
You still have that really intimate audio connection, but now there's another layer with the visuals.
I like that. So the article mentions there are several types of content that do well in this faceless format.
Yeah.
Tutorials, educational videos, those make sense.
Right.
But what about things like storytelling?
Mm-hmm.
Can you really tell a good story without seeing a person's face?
Well, I think that's where things get really interesting, because if you think about animation, I mean, that's already an amazing way to tell stories,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because you're not limited by having to shoot live action, you can, explore all these fantasy worlds
Mm-hmm.
or characters, or like think about all the meditation channels that are getting
Right.
super popular.
Yeah.
They're using these really beautiful abstract visuals, with calming music and a guided meditation.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of storytelling, for
Yeah.
sure,
Uh,
but it can be super effective.
it makes you wonder if going faceless almost gives creators more creative freedom
Yeah.
because they're not limited by how they look or how comfortable they are on camera.
It really is about putting the content first.
Hmm.
And actually, the article goes into 5 main reasons why YouTubers are going faceless.
Okay.
And some of them are pretty surprising.
All right, let's get into this. I mean, the most obvious one is privacy, right?
Sure.
In a world where everyone's sharing everything online,
Maybe some people just want to keep their personal lives private.
anonymity is a big thing for a lot of creators,
Yeah.
It lets them share their knowledge or their passions without all the stuff that can come with being famous online.
So they can build a following based on their work and not their personal life.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But what about people who do want to be in the spotlight?
Right.
Why would they go faceless?
Well, think about it. Even if you're already a big creator,
Uh-huh.
keeping up a persona online takes work.
Sure.
What you wear, your
Yeah.
background, the way you present yourself, that's all part of your brand. But with a faceless channel, you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
You can just focus on making the best content possible without the pressure of, being on all the time.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
It is.
It strips away all that extra stuff
Mhm.
and gets back to what really matters, the ideas, the information, the stories.
That's it.
Now, the article also says this can speed up the production process.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Think about all the time you spend on makeup hair,
Right.
finding the right outfit,
Mm-hmm.
setting up the lighting,
You
and then
got it.
editing out all those pauses and mistakes.
Totally.
With a faceless channel, you can just wake up, hit record, and go,
I love that.
right.
So you're saying I can ditch the ring light and just stay in my pajamas?
Maybe not the pajamas, but you get the idea.
Okay, fair enough.
It's all about being more efficient with your time and your resources.
I see.
And it leads to another advantage: content flexibility. Some topics, some styles of content just work better without a face.
Like those tutorials we were talking about.
Exactly.
If I'm trying to learn how to code,
Right.
I don't really care about the person teaching it.
You just want the information.
Yeah, I just want the information.
Exactly.
And the same goes for certain types of stories, I guess.
Oh, for sure. Imagine like a true crime channel that used animation to recreate the crime scenes or
Yeah.
like show those dramatic moments.
Okay, yeah.
It can be really captivating even without seeing the creator. Or ASMR, that's all about the sounds and visuals to create a certain feeling.
Right.
It wouldn't work as well if somebody's just talking to you the whole time.
So it's not just about personal preference.
Right.
It's about using the best format for the content to
Exactly.
make the biggest impact.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The article also talks about outsourcing as a reason for going faceless.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So if your channel isn't focused on you,
Yeah.
it's much easier to work with other people. You could have professional voice actors, animators, video editors, all working behind the scenes to create something really amazing.
So it's like building your own creative dream team.
Exactly.
Okay, and this leads us to the tools.
Yeah.
The article mentions a lot of resources that make it pretty easy to create really professional faceless content.
And some of these tools are really game changers.
Like what?
Well, there's Pictory.ai, which is this amazing AI-powered tool that can take any script or article, even just some text, and turn it into a full video automatically.
Wow.
It adds visuals, music transitions, even voiceovers.
Really? So even if I know nothing about video editing,
Right.
I could create something pretty decent using Pictory.ai.
It's designed to be easy to use even for beginners.
Nice.
And there are other platforms too, like Lumen 5 and InVideo.
Okay.
Lumen 5 is great for explainer videos and listicles, and it has a huge library of stock footage and music. And InVideo is more about templates, so they have pre-designed templates for all kinds of videos, from product reviews to educational stuff.
Cool. So it sounds like these platforms make it really easy for anyone to try out this kind of content.
They do.
But even with all these fancy tools, you
Yeah.
still need the basics, right?
Of course.
Images, music, sound effects.
For sure. And that's where sites like Storyblocks come in.
Okay.
It's a massive library of stock footage, music, sound effects, anything you need to make your videos look professional.
Wow.
And then for people who like that hand-drawn look, there's Doodly, which is a software that makes it easy to create whiteboard animations.
So you could create a whole explainer video using Doodly with a voiceover from Voicely,
Right.
use visuals from Storyblocks, and then edit it all in Pictory.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It really is. And then for screen recording and live streaming, you've got OBS Studio, which is a really powerful tool that's completely free.
Cool.
It's essential for tutorials, gameplay videos, online presentations.
It's incredible how accessible all of this is.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about what faceless YouTube is, why creators are choosing it, and even some of the tools that make it all happen.
But I think the real question is, what does this all mean?
Right.
Why should our listener, someone who may not even be a creator, care about this trend?
That's a great point. What do you find so interesting about this, and why do you think it's something our listeners should pay attention to?
I think this is bigger than just YouTube.
Yeah.
It's about how we consume content in general. Like, think about it. We are constantly bombarded with information.
Right.
People's attention spans are so short.
Yeah.
And I think if people are getting tired of these big personalities and everyone trying to promote themselves online.
So you're saying faceless content is like a reaction to that?
Yeah, kind of like a way to cut through the noise and get back to what matters.
So it challenges that whole influencer model that we've been seeing for so long.
Right.
What even is influence if you take away the face and the personality?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And I think the answer might be that influence becomes more about actual expertise and knowledge. Like, if a faceless channel is putting out good content consistently, stuff that's well-researched and insightful or even just entertaining,
Yeah.
people are going to watch it regardless of who's making it.
So it levels the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need a huge following or a perfect online persona.
It's more about the quality of your ideas.
Right. And that's empowering for people who maybe don't fit the mold of a typical influencer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about academics, researchers, even just people who know a lot about a specific topic, but they don't want to put themselves out there in that way.
It's like the internet is going back to its roots. Remember those old forums and message boards?
Yeah.
Where people would connect over shared interests?
Right. Often anonymously.
Yeah, and there's something really genuine about that.
I think so.
It's about the joy of learning and sharing
It's pure.
without all the branding and self-promotion.
Exactly.
But we can't ignore the business side of this either, right?
Yeah.
YouTube is a business.
Of course.
And brands are always looking for ways to reach people.
Yeah.
Do you think faceless channels have a place in advertising?
I think it's going to happen.
How so?
Imagine a brand working with a faceless channel that has a ton of followers, like gardening enthusiasts or tech reviewers or whatever.
Okay.
They wouldn't be using the creator's personality. They'd be using their credibility in that specific niche.
So it's a more subtle kind of influencer marketing.
Right.
Like you're not being directly sold to.
Yeah.
You're getting recommendations from someone you already trust,
Exactly.
even if you don't know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And for the viewer, it's about taking back some control.
Right.
You choose what you want to watch based on the content itself.
And not because you're drawn to the person presenting it.
Right, you're not just following a personality.
Yeah.
It's about the content.
Exactly.
Now, there are some downsides too,
Of
right?
course.
We've talked about anonymity being a good thing,
Mm-hmm.
but it can also be used for bad things.
Absolutely.
It's easier to spread misinformation or avoid responsibility
Right.
when you're not putting your name or face out there.
It's true.
It raises some ethical questions that we need to think about, like
Yeah.
how do we balance privacy with transparency and accountability?
It's a complex issue.
It is, but I think the potential benefits outweigh the risks.
I agree.
Faceless content can make information sharing more democratic.
Mm-hmm.
It can give new voices a platform.
And create a more thoughtful online experience.
Right, where it's less about personalities and
Yes.
more about the ideas.
Exactly. And even if our listener isn't interested in making videos, this is about being aware of these changes,
Right.
being more critical of the content they're consuming, and recognizing that influence can look different now,
It's about looking beyond the surface.
questioning your assumptions,
Yeah.
being open to new ways of learning and connecting.
I like that. And that's a good way to approach the internet in general.
It is.
Now, this article is specifically about YouTube.
Right.
But do you think this faceless trend is happening elsewhere, too?
Oh, definitely. We're already seeing it in podcasts. There are shows hosted by anonymous or pseudonymous creators.
Really?
Yeah. And I think as virtual reality and the metaverse become more popular, we'll see even more faceless content.
Because in those environments, how you look doesn't really matter. It's about the experience and the connection.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah.
We're just getting started with faceless content. The next few years are going to be really interesting.
Okay, so to wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier.
Yeah.
You mentioned that this trend could lead to a more thoughtful online experience.
Right.
One that's less driven by personalities. Can you talk more about that?
Sure.
What do you see happening?
Well, I think people really want authenticity. You know, they want content that feels real and informative,
Right.
but without all the hype and self-promotion.
Yeah, like it's got to be genuine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And faceless content kind of forces you to do that because you're not focused on the person. You're focused on the ideas.
It's like hitting the reset button on the internet.
Yeah.
We're so used to seeing these carefully curated images and personalities online
Yeah.
that it's kind of refreshing to see something that's just raw information
Totally.
or a story told in a different way. And I think it changes how we see expertise and authority.
Right.
It's not about who has the most followers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's about who can actually provide value, who can teach us something new,
Yeah.
who can make us think differently.
It's like the internet is rediscovering the power of a whisper.
Hmm,
Sometimes the quietest voices have the most important things to say.
that's true.
And in a world where everyone's shouting for attention,
Right.
maybe that's what we need more of.
I think so.
So even if our listeners aren't YouTubers themselves,
Yeah.
what can they take away from this?
Well, I think it's about recognizing that value can come from anywhere.
Hmm.
Expertise doesn't always have a fancy persona attached to it.
Right.
And sometimes the best insights come from the people who aren't looking for the spotlight.
I like that it's about being open to new ways of learning and connecting, being curious and thoughtful, and valuing substance over style
For sure. And maybe this whole faceless thing will inspire some of our listeners.
to find their own voice, you know, share their knowledge or their passions,
Right.
even if it's in a way they never thought of before.
That's what's so exciting about all this.
It is.
The tools are there. The platforms are there.
The audience is there.
Yeah, people are ready for something different.
All it takes is a willingness to try something new.
Exactly. So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Okay.
If you're feeling overwhelmed by all the noise online and the pressure to have this perfect online persona,
Right.
just remember that there are other ways to connect, other ways to share, other ways to create.
For sure.
Maybe it's time to embrace anonymity,
Right.
let your work speak for itself,
Mhm.
and see what happens when you step out of the spotlight.
And remember, the most valuable content often comes from the most unexpected places.
That's true.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep an open mind.
Well said. That's all for today's deep dive into the world of faceless YouTube.
Thanks for having me.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.